Does looking at inappropriate images shrink your brain? The bodily dangers of alcohol and drugs are known. For example, alcohol is a neurotoxin. It causes permanent damage to the body and brain. How does this translate to other addictions? Dr. Simeon Kuhn from the Max Planck Institute and Dr. Jürgen Galanat from the Charité Clinic of Psychiatry studied whether the consumption of extremely inappropriate images leaves considerable damage on the brain. They theorized, just like other addictions, this addiction affects the brain's reward system. Using an MRI machine which has the capability to generate images of the brain, they analyzed the brain structures and functions of 64 healthy males between the ages 21 and 45. Prior to the experiment, they conducted a survey to find out the weekly amount of hours average that the participants spent consuming inappropriate images. The results of the survey found that the participants on average consumed 4 hours of inappropriate images per week, and that a third of the participants were at risk of having an addiction. The same third of the participants also showed an addiction to sexual intercourse, an increased consumption of alcohol, and a high occurrence of depressive episodes. In the MRI readings of the participants with greater inappropriate image consumption, it was found that there was less gray matter in the brain's right striatum. Thus, it was concluded that a greater amount of inappropriate images consumed translated to greater amount of lost gray matter. The researchers found that same occurrence with alcohol and internet addictions too. In the second part of the experiment, the participants were asked to look at certain images while in the MRI machine. Half of these images shown were inappropriate, and when they were shown, an increased amount of activity was seen in the right striatum. There was less activity in the right striatum for participants who regularly consumed more inappropriate images than the other participants. It was concluded that those who consume a great amount of inappropriate images were less likely to be affected by the images in their brain and had less sensitivity to the images. It was also found that the more addicted participants had a weaker connection between their right striatum and left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, PFS for short, is sort of like the brain's director. It is responsible for the brain's motor senses, attention span, thinking process, decision making, and planning ahead ability. When we get really happy, like your team scoring a goal, our brain releases a signal called dopamine. This signal reaches different parts of the brain and increases feelings of happiness. Our brain releases this chemical when we view inappropriate images. When consuming alcohol and drugs, dopamine is released enough so that it causes lasting damage. Due to the right striatum's connection to the prefrontal cortex, in order to achieve those feelings of happiness, dopamine's dosage and density need to be constantly increased. Eventually, this increases want and eventually causes addiction. Constant stimulation by inappropriate images causes the brain's reward system to dull and decreases its activity. This consumption opens the road to other right striatum to be used excessively. The right striatum is important for a person's motivation, feelings, and thinking process. It allows us to be motivated and show effort to receive reward hormones. However, excessive use of the striatum causes forgetfulness, attention problems, and lack of motivation.